Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. Joining me as always, my good friend, my colleague, my co-host of many years. He's a little worse for the wear after a long weekend, a long flight, but he's here for you, and he's here for this free freaking podcast. His name is Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, Ty. Don't pity me. I had a very good weekend. I had a very, very fun Austin Friday and Saturday, and then got about a couple hours of sleep after a bachelor party, and I'm back in New York, and I'm here to serve, Ty. I've got piping hot, wrong college football opinions, and I do not discriminate. I am ready.
Piping hot takes here on the Solid Verbal. Not something we do frequently, but yeah, I think it's getting to that time of year. We're through 2 weeks of the college football season now. And I first must ask, given the fact that you were at a bachelor party, how much of the games, how much of the action did you actually get a chance to watch? How much did you read about? Inquiring minds want to know how that sort of thing works for someone such as yourself.
So I was on Lake Travis for the early games. So that would be the 12 p.m. Eastern games. But I streamed a little bit and I was paying attention via phone. Got back in time for pretty much a little after the Oregon game started. So that was a 4:30 p.m. kick, I believe. So I watched a good chunk of that. I was streaming that, a good chunk of Pitt and Penn State. Caught up on everything from the noon games, though, via highlights and extended watch stuff that I have secret super duper access to. I'm a bad person. And I'm all read up. I have strong thoughts. Don't worry, Ty. I have everything just neatly packed into my tiny brain.
Yeah, I did a little bit of a live thing on my own on Facebook before we went live, because we are recording a couple hours later today.
How'd it work out?
It worked out well. I wasn't entirely sure what I was doing. It's the first time I used that little interface. I don't have a good enough microphone and all that, but one of the questions that came up centered around, do we know who the best teams are? You know, how has your opinion of college football changed now through 2 weeks of the season? I find that I have a stunning amount of clarity after just 2 weeks.
I love that.
I feel like I know who the best teams are in each conference. Clemson, Alabama, Penn State, Oklahoma, USC. In previous week twos, I've gone back, I went through and looked at notes from previous years. I don't ever remember being this clear on who I felt were the best teams in each conference this early in the year. So, at least to that end, week two, I think, lived up to the billing. There were 4 great night games. There were other games earlier in the day that were a lot of fun. Let's kick it off the way we always kick it off. Let's get to your week 2 reverbs, and then we'll stop back in and talk a little bit more in depth. Here they are.
Notre Dame fan calling here, just calling to talk about the game. Oh, hold on for a second. Grandpa, yeah. Hey, bro, you gotta turn up the heat on the hot seat. Yeah, on Brian Kelly's hot seat. Yeah, just turn it up a little bit. Sorry about that. So that was awful.
Aloha, this is Dallas calling from Honolulu. This is Kyle calling from Washington, D.C.
Dan and Ty, this is Caroline from Fort Worth, Texas.
Howdy, guys. This is Angry Jay calling from Kaohsiung, Taiwan.
I feel bad for Ty, but at least Grandpa wasn't awake for this Notre Dame loss.
I don't like all the red in ND here in South Bend. I don't like all this red. I'm not used to it.
Hey, at least Notre Dame scored 19.
In between 3 or 4 games, I counted 11 times that I heard the Game of Thrones soundtrack or theme song playing in the background.
And I want you guys all to forget about Notre Dame stank, because Florida offensivitis is this season's hottest competitively transmitted disease.
Secretly Decent South Carolina? Go Cox.
Wow, Jared Sims doing his best impression of Pennywise the Clown, making a lot of things float out there.
Tough loss for the Tigers tonight. Clemson's D-line bringing down Sim 11 times, but that's to change. But Auburn's defense, talk about effort, talk about just never willing to quit.
Revenge is sweet, and so is bacon. Sorry, Arkansas. Go Frogs.
I have a request. can we start calling Arkansas home losses the top 25 teams Burt alert?
Ty, on behalf of the TCU football program, I just want to say we know we've let you down in the past. We know we're not perfect, but we want you back.
All I have to say is riff ram ba freaking zoo. Kenny Hill, from secret garbage to actual garbage and back to okay. He was fine.
Silly Baylor, you're all confused. Now listen, the cupcake is not supposed to eat you.
Just wanted to let you know that you all told me to do stuff like take a walk or bike or do whatever until 4 o'clock for your window of opportunity. And guess what? Instead, I played Halo till 4 o'clock, and I regret everything.
I'd just like to say that as an Iowa State fan, this is the most competitive I've seen Iowa State in a while, but I'll be damned if the song doesn't remain the same when it comes to Iowa State and the Hawkeyes.
El Hastico heard about Ty's window of opportunity and proceeded to laugh directly in its face.
I know Oregon's really on this alternate uniform train, but what's up with all their fans wearing red? I mean, isn't that taking a little too far?
Hey, this is Peter. I'm watching Oregon, Nebraska, and I just watched Justin Herbert throw 2 perfect touchdowns. Congratulations on your shiny new altar, Ty.
As an Ohio State fan, I no longer need to worry about my New Year's Day plans and only have November 25th to look forward to.
All those people that continue to pour the love on JT Barrett, can I just tell you now, whatever magic that he had going for him the year he was injured and Cardale Jones took over, it's gone, it's over. I'm going to have a shot and go to bed.
I just got done watching Oklahoma beat Ohio State. Only thing I have to say, Boomer Sooner.
Out here shouting about Purdue football on a Friday night. Go Boilers!
Penn State beats Pitt. Saquon Barkley should just be appointed governor.
Stanford's defense just gave up over 600 yards, including 300 rushing on the ground. I think it's safe to say that Mr. Softy's baton has been passed.
My dad came out here for my 24th birthday. Yes, I'm 24. And I'm still in college, but this is my last semester. And tonight I got to rush the field with my old man, and it was freaking awesome. Go Cougs, baby.
Alright, so it's 5 in the morning. I'm laying out in the Oval, waiting for college game day with my girlfriend and a J.K. Dobbins Dude Alert sign. Can't wait.
There you go. There are your week 2 reverbs, a little bit longer. I talked to Taylor this morning. He had a hard time narrowing down the field, but on that last message, I happened to wake up very early on Saturday morning, as I'm wont to do. And as we've mentioned time and time again now, with our little voice machine, we have the capability to text people back.
True.
And at the time that Andy from Ohio State sent in that message, I took it upon myself, let's text him back randomly at about 5 in the morning. Let's text him back. And so it was at 5 in the morning. I had a text message, a long text message conversation with Andy, the freshman at Ohio State.
Is that Andy Neuber?
Andy Neuber.
Oh,
Ohio
man.
State. I texted with him for about an hour, then I fell back asleep.
What a life you lead, Ty.
What a life I lead. That's what I did this weekend while you were at your bachelor party.
Oh, man. Shout out to camera guy Dave and a great lake barbecue, full court basketball bachelor party. Great times.
So, all right, we're gonna get into the big games at night.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in case we pan over it, I'm sure we might. There was an 87-yard fumble in the Louisiana Tech Mississippi State game that led to a 3rd and 93 situation for Louisiana Tech.
Pure magic.
Not to be overlooked. Magical in a college football sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's all the same to you, I'd like to extend our embargo on Baylor football coverage for at least another week.
Oh, that is completely perfect.
Because I this is true. I get a Christmas card every year from Peter Pope over at Our Daily Bears.
Yeah, great guy.
I don't want to risk that by talking about Baylor. He's a very nice man. I'd prefer to get the Christmas cards and not put that friendship in jeopardy.
Let's just do maybe a weekly check-in. Does Baylor football still exist? Ty, can you give me an answer?
It does, yes.
Okay. That's great.
Proof of life, yes.
That's all I need.
A simple ping, yes or no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where would you like to begin?
I was going to say let's start with Oklahoma and Ohio State, because for me, that was like the most interesting game of the evening. Wasn't the closest, but 31-16, Oklahoma goes on the road in the Horseshoe, comes out the underdog victor in this football game. Afterwards, Baker Mayfield and some teammates had a nice little kumbaya moment and gathered at midfield at Ohio Stadium to stomp on the logo and plant an Oklahoma flag. Are you freaking kidding me? Good game for him and a nice win for Oklahoma. I think pretty much everyone picked against the Sooners, at least as far as I could tell. It just never felt like Ohio State had any momentum.
That's because they did not. I mean, it was 3-3 at halftime, and it probably should have been 13-3 or something like that. Oklahoma completely outplayed them offensively. JT Barrett was like 5 of 11 after the first half. And I have long not been a huge fan of JT Barrett. And immediately in watching this game, I was like, why did I roll with Ohio State here?
Yeah.
But I don't think this is all on him. I don't think the coaching staff is fully prepared to use him and figure out what they want to do identity-wise with the offense in any sort of coherent way, especially when they get close to the goal line. So Oklahoma came out, they looked better. Baker Mayfield, especially in the second half, looked so much more confident, looking into this secondary and making quick, accurate decisions. And even with some injuries, Mark Andrews went down. They had a couple drops. This was an Oklahoma team who I thought the big story was defense, which is sort of strange to say. That was a question coming in. The offensive line held up really well against Ohio State's front. So I came away with this in this game watching, and I'm sure you did as well, just crazy impressed with Oklahoma. This is Lincoln Riley's first game on the road as a head coach, and to go to the Horseshoe and do what they did and pull away impressively in the second half, I thought was incredible.
They were able to hold down not only JT Barrett throwing the football, and he looked awful throwing the football. Outside of the final 2 drives, he was just 10 of 21 for 84 yards. They also were able to hold down a rushing attack that many folks were excited about after seeing what Ohio State did in week 1 with J.K. Dobbins, his emergence. Ohio State was not able to supplement their passing attack at all with any meaningful running game. At least not from their running backs, because they only got the ball 16 times the whole game. Right. So they were absolutely taken out of rhythm by Oklahoma and what they did defensively. And offensively, Baker Mayfield picked them apart. This is the second straight week now where Ohio State gave up a bunch of yards passing. You'll remember a week ago, 420 against Indiana. This week, 386 against Baker Mayfield. He hit 9 different targets in this football game. So again, all things just kind of firing, going Oklahoma's way. Knee-jerk reaction. They seemed a lot better to me, a lot faster to me than I expected.
Yeah.
And I'll do credit to Lincoln Riley, a huge win on the road in his first season.
Absolutely. And do you remember when we did a hot take show, probably in like April or May?
Yeah.
Do you remember what my flag was? No pun intended with Oklahoma in this game about Ohio State. My big prediction. It wasn't a hot take show. It was like a crystal ball show.
Okay. I don't remember what I did yesterday. So I'm going to go with no.
So my big crystal ball, my most dramatic crystal ball was that JT Barrett would be supplanted this season.
Yeah.
And we were subjected to a lot of like, well, here are the big Heisman candidates heading into the year. Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, Baker Mayfield, JT Barrett. And it always seemed like one was not like the others. And I predicted Joe Burrow, who, of course, I think he broke his hand a couple weeks before the season started. And I think went through warmups. But at a certain point, I don't know if it's on this show, Ty. I don't know if it's in 3 weeks, but it's could be time to start having a conversation about JT Barrett and if he is the person, if he has that.
His backup, by the way, is Dwayne Haskins, who's been compared in some places to Ohio State's version of Deshaun Watson. That's probably not the most accurate way to describe it, but nonetheless,
yeah, I don't think he's the kind of athlete that Deshaun Watson is.
Nonetheless, Dwayne Haskins is about the oldest name I've ever heard in college football.
It's pretty good. And he's good.
That's a 52-year-old machinist, Dwayne Haskins. That's not a quarterback. Yeah. Just saying.
I like that. I'm looking forward to it.
Oklahoma 31, Ohio State 16. Big win in the horseshoe for Lincoln Riley and the Sooners. They've now gone up to number 2 in the latest AP college football poll.
They go to Kansas State, which is looking strong against nobody right now. And they go to Stillwater for Bedlam.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. 2 huge games, but that's not for a while.
The other game that I thought was extremely meaningful, extremely interesting on a bunch of different levels at night. They all were, but
right.
If I'm putting them in order, USC Stanford would come in second for me. Anytime you hang 42 and 620 plus yards on Stanford,
yeah,
you're doing something right. You know, anytime
Absolutely.
You throw for 316 and run for 307, you are out Stanfording Stanford.
You love this line, by the way, the +6 or whatever you were getting.
Yeah, they got bullied. They got bullied the way that USC offensive line played. That was one thing I certainly did not expect, because it's usually the other way around, right?
It does seem to be that way. USC has struggled up front on offense recently and has overcome it with obviously terrific skill talent. But yeah, Stanford coming in, we figured that the corners and the linebackers and safeties would be the strength. They got picked on a ton. They got run past over and through. And the other big thing for me, because at a certain point, it's kind of difficult to be surprised when Sam Darnold makes great plays on the run, when, Ronald Jones, who, by the way, Ty, Saquon Barkley might be the most complete back. It probably is the most complete running back in the country. Darius Geis may be the most dangerous running back with the ball in his hands. Just the size, speed combination. His vision is excellent. It would be very difficult at this point, I know we're only 2 games in, to have a top tier running back conversation without Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
His ability, and I think his strength, and everybody sees this, he's cut and go. He hits lanes harder than anybody, it seems, in college football. The confidence that he has, he needs a crease, and he eats up. And then now that he has Stephen Carr beside him, and I think Stephen Carr actually outgained him, the true freshman, this USC rushing attack, this should be a rushing team. And they have Sam Darnold, and he should have an easy time. But there really doesn't seem to be, Sam Darnold shouldn't be throwing the ball 30 times in a game, it seems to me, unless the running game is really taken away. The other big thing to me, and you alluded to this, was USC up front. We sort of made fun of them week 1 against Western Michigan, but I think it's Nwosu up front, just blocking balls down, just completely demoralizing Keller Christ, who's not short, and just taking it to the Stanford offense. And Bryce Love got his and is incredible, but this USC defense up front really took a step forward. Was cool to see.
Yeah, really on both sides of the line, USC got it done. Offensively, they got a great push, open up lanes for Ronald Jones, Stephen Carr. Defensively, you're right. They were able to harass Keller Christ a bit and change the game. USC now is Texas next week, which I've already started seeing previews.
Yeah.
Have you seen the overdramatic previews yet for USC Texas?
Oh, yeah.
The
Absolutely
rematch.
Did.
Nightmares live forever. Something of that ilk.
Texas sort of a mystery at this point. Started a true freshman. Yeah.
Stanford, by the way, is the best team on USC's schedule. So you see what they did to Stanford. You have to feel pretty good about USC the rest of the way.
We'll get to this game, obviously, but I'm exceedingly curious about USC's offense against Washington State's defense.
Okay.
On the road in the Palouse. But outside of that, Notre Dame not looking as tricky anymore. UCLA to me is going to be huge. That's going to be a very fun game because Josh Rosen is playing lights out right now.
By the way, the final score in the USC game, 42-24. USC knocks off the Cardinal at home. Let's go to Georgia. Notre Dame. Let's get this out of the way.
Yes.
20-19 was the final score. Do you watch this game at all?
20 to what now, Ty? 20 to what?
19, baby. 19. I got that. I got that 19 hook for myself. Thank you.
I did watch this game. This was on a muted TV, but I did watch.
What do you think of this game?
Georgia's defense, real strong.
Yeah.
Overpowered Notre Dame up front. What was it? Was Roquan Smith?
Yeah.
Had himself a pretty good night. Brandon Wimbush very much looks like a quarterback who has not played in a big game. The fact that Notre Dame was not able to move the ball on the ground, not a particularly good sign, but it was against maybe the best defensive front. I mean, Miami's also going to be really tough. But the big thing that I took away from this game was if you like kicking and punting, my goodness, do I have a 3 hour and 47-minute exhibition for you.
Yeah, wow. Notre Dame just 3 of 17 on third downs. I don't think Georgia was much better. They might have been like 4 of 17 on third downs. But you're right. Georgia's front really got the better of Notre Dame's offensive line. If you're looking for an example of this, if you're saying to yourself, I'd like to see how Georgia dominated Notre Dame's offensive line. All you got to do is go to Notre Dame's last play from scrimmage and look to see what happens when Mike McGlinchey gets dusted by Davin Bellamy.
Yeah.
Dusted by Davin Bellamy. And McGlinchey, he put it on himself, and he's the reason they lost. He's not the reason they lost. Individually.
What is the reason they lost?
Well, you're right. They couldn't establish a running game. Josh Adams couldn't run. Brandon Wimbush couldn't run. And that put more pressure on Wimbush. And you're right. He might eventually be a quarterback who can win a game on his own, but he's not there yet. So, he had an opportunity in the end. If you're 3 of 17 on third downs, you've got the ball with 90 seconds left. You can drive to win the game, and you can't get the job done. In the face of all the other stuff that was going wrong offensively, if you still have a chance to win and you don't, you've got no one to blame but yourself.
I agree.
Their defense was really good. Really good. You laughed at me when I said a couple weeks ago that their tackling had improved in practice. Remember that one?
I still stand by the laugh.
They didn't miss a lot of open field tackles. I thought they were much, much better defensively. You hold any team to 20 points, you should win that game.
You're absolutely right. Jake Fromm did not have a particularly good game at all. Quarterback play in this game was pretty abysmal. But yes, Notre Dame's defense has improved significantly. The big problem to me was Notre Dame had opportunities. They were not playing well.
Totally.
And Georgia kept handing them penalties.
Yep.
Georgia finished like 12 penalties for 120 some odd yards. Georgia won this game in a very undisciplined way. And that's good news for Georgia fans, because if you can win when you play poorly, that's great, because improvement is on the table. They can stop committing dumb penalties. But for Notre Dame, yes, it was a matter of not continuing drives, keeping the defense on the field too long, and good teams take advantage and on and off teams don't. And that's what Notre Dame is right now.
Georgia needs to get better on offense. Notre Dame does have a pretty good defense. I think we know that now, but their offense was just okay. Got a lot of feedback, by the way, on our Jake Superior thing.
Oh, yeah. We talked about Less Than Jake. We should mention that. But yes, that is a nice nickname to have. But I don't know who the Less Than and Superior is right now.
People are also trying to push this Jake from State Farm.
Yeah, that's not ours. We don't do that.
I don't like that one.
No.
But yeah, Georgia wins. A nice win for them on the road.
Notice that Wimbush wasn't really connecting with receivers. Like, his longer passes were sort of screens and tight end kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know what the offensive game plan was there, to be perfectly honest. But
true.
Brian Kelly got an interesting line of questioning after the game got a little snippy with Lake and Littman from the Indy Star. I don't think they're in any danger of having it snowball again like last season, but never know.
And last season was like they lost close games. It wasn't completely out of control.
Notre Dame 1-8 in their last 9 games, decided by 1 possession.
And I believe Clemson is now 8-1 against top 15 teams. And that's I think it overlaps with that monsoon game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's since 2015. Crazy.
This is a good segue, Dan.
That's why I'm here, Ty.
Clemson 14, Auburn 6. This was the other big game that we alerted you to when we did our preview show. Clemson 14, Auburn 6. This one was in Clemson. I watched this game like I was watching a demolition derby, Dan.
Oh, God. Except all of the cars had Jarrett Stidham decals on them.
Oh, my God. 2 teams crashing together. Clemson's defense, surprise, surprise, gets the better of Auburn. They hold Auburn to just 117 total yards. They sacked Jarrett Stidham 11 times, Dan. 11 times. 4 of which came from Austin Bryant, the junior defensive end. You combine that with what Kelly Bryant did, getting 2 running touchdowns on offense. I think we've got a Bryant brothers connection here, even though they're not actually related.
Or tennis players. That sounds very similar. The Bryant brothers. Yeah, it was a stop, he's already dead game. I don't know if you have that sound at your disposal right now, but...
be dead.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it.
It's and it was not all on Auburn's offensive line. There were coverage sacks. There were times when Jarrett Stidham could have sort of rolled out and thrown the ball away. Jarrett Stidham was smaller than the game. That's what it seemed like to me, and he might grow and he might improve, but the Auburn offense was woeful. And it's not as if the Clemson offense was having a ton of success against Auburn, because the Auburn defense did come to play. They laid a ton of wood against Clemson, and I don't know if any Clemson running back ever really got going. It felt like they were tackled like 2/3 of a yard every time in, and they picked their spots. They when Auburn had they got to the goal line early and they had to settle for 3. There are those moments, knowing the defense they're going against, when they have that opportunity and they can't get into the end zone, where it becomes very quick. It becomes very easy to quickly think to yourself, ooh, that's secretly like kind of huge, even though it's the beginning of the game, that they're settling for 3 and can't punch it in, because those opportunities are going to be few and far between. So I don't feel terribly about Auburn, because I think defensively they're going to be in great shape all season long. They're going to be able to run the ball. The Clemson defensive front is special beyond special, Ty. Anybody that watches that game or any Clemson game knows this. So I'm not too down on Auburn, but going to need to see a bit more from Stidham.
Clemson gets the job done at home. It doesn't always need to be pretty, but survive and advance. That's the way this thing works.
What do you feel? What are your feelings, Ty, about Kelly Bryant as of now?
So far, I like him.
I like him too. Clemson was 9 of 16 on third downs, which tells me a little bit that Kelly Bryant, I mean, when watching the game, you could see he was comfortable. He was getting to third and manageable. I like Kelly Bryant, and they are now they have Louisville this week, right? Louisville.
Yeah.
They're Clemson's driver's seat right now. With Louisville struggling defensively, with Florida State looking like who knows what quarterback wise with James Blackman, I don't know how you beat Clemson right now. I don't know who that team is on their schedule. Boston College, Virginia Tech, maybe sort of. It's in Blacksburg. Wake, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, NC State, Florida State at home, Citadel, and they go to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that there's a combined of like the best of all of those teams, a combined 1 loss on that schedule.
The takeaway for me, as I look back at the end of the night, in picking out those 5 teams that I think are the best in their individual conferences, in pretty much every case, maybe with the exception of Penn State, I look at the schedule and say, wow, that looks easier than I expected.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that looks a lot easier now, because a lot's taken place in just 2 weeks here.
See, Clemson's still, the schedule to me is still pretty tough. To have Virginia Tech, Louisville, Florida State, and South Carolina left, South Carolina on the road. That's a tough schedule. But Austin Bryant, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, Kendall Joseph. Ooh, scary stuff.
Let's go to the Big Ten here.
Yeah.
Penn State 33, Pitt 14. James Franklin may or may not have taken a shot at Pitt in the postgame. Did you hear this?
Yeah, I thought he did.
I'm leaning yes as well. He said that Pitt's victory last year over Penn State was like their Super Bowl, but this year for Penn State, beating Pitt's just, like beating Akron.
Okay.
It was ambiguous enough in tone that I could see him playing it off as, well, no, I was drawing a weird parallel. Obviously, everyone in Pittsburgh is going wild seeing that commentary.
And I get it. James Franklin's a spicy guy, likes speaking from the heart, speaking from the gut, Ty.
Yeah, right.
I think the intention was more that like they have a workmanlike attitude, and Penn State
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah,
but that's giving him a benefit of the doubt that I don't know that in what he has said previously he deserves.
Exactly, and that's my stance on the whole matter. If he hadn't come in and said in his introductory press conference, we're going to dominate the state, and a lot of things that were sure to anger rivals, then I'd be inclined to give him a pass here. But in any case, Penn State wins by 19. Pitt did exactly what I said they were going to do. Exactly what I said they were going to do. They tried to eat as much of the clock as they could. At one point in the first half, Dan, I kid you not, Pitt managed a 15-play, 31-yard drive that lasted for 8 minutes.
Oh, the
How is that
humanity
even
tie.
possible? An 8-minute, 31-yard drive.
They shouldn't be allowed to put that on TV.
Unbelievable. Pitt executed that game plan. They ran something like 34 more plays in this game. They had dozens more plays. And I thought their defense played Penn State pretty well, all things considered. You know, it wasn't a total failure by any stretch.
And you took those points and barely covered.
That's right. It
was 20-point spread and a 19-point victory. Yeah, Trace McSorley, maybe it was the fact that he was sitting on the bench waiting for Penn State to get the ball back for so long. Looked sort of out of sorts. Didn't seem like his full self. He threw some nice passes, but didn't really dominate. Saquon Barkley only with 14 carries, but had a ridiculous touchdown catch screen game. So a good effort from Penn State. Schedule is still pretty dicey, but you really have Penn State solidly in first?
I think I do.
In the Big Ten?
I think I do at this point.
I don't have a good argument for anybody else.
Here is why I think it's Penn State.
Okay.
How do you feel about Ohio State's offense right now?
Not great.
How do you feel about Michigan's offense right now?
Okay, but not great. It's week 2, but not great.
How do you feel about Wisconsin's offense right now?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not crazy good, but the fact that Jazz Peavy and Troy Fumagalli exist to balance out, Bradrick Shaw and Jonathan Taylor tailback on the ground.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good because the defense still looks demonstrably solid against nobody in particular yet. So I have no reason to doubt that Wisconsin can't again at least hang with, if not take down Penn State.
All three of those teams are probably good enough in their own right to beat Penn State if they get the breaks. But I feel like in the Big Ten, there are fewer things that I could count on more than Penn State's offense scoring points. They're going to score 30 a game, and you got to outscore them if you want to win. So right now, I like that entity more than anything else in the Big Ten. That's why I probably put them number 1.
Can you name a Big Ten team who has not given up a touchdown this season? Because I can. And Penn State plays them on the road. That'd be Sparty, Ty.
Wow.
Michigan State, so they gave up, I think it was a fumble return and a kickoff return touchdown against Western Michigan yesterday. Granted, competition has not been huge, but that could be a little trappy, little body blow week after playing Ohio State on the road, week after playing Michigan.
We'll see.
I'm just making sure that it's on your radar, Ty, because Penn State is very good. And they travel to Iowa in a couple weeks. I think that game could be very entertaining. That's my hope.
It's always interesting and close. It's not always entertaining.
Correct. I want it to be entertaining. I have high hopes.
Penn State wins 33-14 over Pitt. Mm-hmm. The other game happening around the same time, your Oregon Ducks against Nebraska. Oregon led 42-14 at half.
They did.
And I got to be honest, because we're all friends here, I turned the game off.
Yeah, good for you.
Then
you missed a bad second half if it held.
I browsed around the old iPad and thought that maybe there was a glitch in the matrix. Your final score, 42-35. Nebraska comes back. They score 3 unanswered touchdowns. Apparently, they had a chance to win this game before Tanner Lee threw his 4th interception of the day. But what the hell gives here, man?
Play calling got real conservative and vanilla in the second half. And I like that they went to like a power formation where the quarterback Justin Herbert had a running back on either side and a running back behind him, like sort of Dana Holgorsen diamond formations that he started running a lot at Oklahoma State before doing it West Virginia, and other teams obviously followed along. But play calling got very conservative. They were trying to take time off the clock, and they'd get themselves to like 3rd and 7. And instead of having something pass option wise off of those formations, the power running formations, to just roll out and hit somebody or have a hitch route or something, a crossing route for 9 or 11 or 8 yards, whatever. They're throwing back shoulder throws down the field for like 31 yards. And when it works, it's great, but it's sort of a high risk endeavor. And they were going 3rd and out, 3 and out quickly. The play calling was not good. Defensively, Oregon looked very good in this game. all things considered from where they were. Thomas Graham, who, by the way, Ty, dude alert.
Yeah.
Absolutely. True freshman corner, starting, getting in there, had 2 picks against Tanner Lee, who... It saddens me to say this because I like making fun of the Tanner Lee hype. I have nothing against Tanner Lee. I hope he succeeds from this point on. If Nebraska gets a better performance from a quarterback, they're probably winning this game.
Yeah.
Nebraska left so much on the table. Nebraska had every opportunity. Late Royce Freeman fumble. I wasn't all that impressed. And, early on in his career there, hope he improves. But Justin Herbert looked so good in the first half. Lasers, Ty, lasers.
Yeah.
And if they get anything out of this offense with sort of like what they showed in the first half, they'll win 8 games this year. They looked electric. And defensively, they're forcing turnovers. They're still pretty weak up the middle. Safeties aren't great. Linebackers in the middle, Troy Dye is great, but Oregon's in a decent position to have a nice improved year.
I was impressed with their defense.
The freshmen are good. The freshmen are very good.
Yeah, this one came through on the little mini pre-show that I did on Facebook just to test it out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take more away on the Oregon side or on the Nebraska side, given the fact that, there were a bunch of turnovers? And I'm going to give Oregon benefit of the doubt. For them to create anything defensively is sort of a net gain at this point because they've just been so bad the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, no, Oregon, the fact that if you have a bad defense, at least have a bad defense that can create turnovers. And that's what Oregon is slowly morphing into as the talent level rises. And it will. They're not built to beat Stanford. Luckily, they don't play USC. They're not built to beat Washington, but take a couple lumps, finish with a winning record. And the defense can be below average this year. How's that for incremental improvement?
Absolutely. And look, ask Mark Helfrich. Finding great talent can be tough. Thankfully, with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100+ job sites with one single click.
I like it.
Boom.
Just that easy.
They've got powerful technology. It efficiently matches the right people to your job better than anyone else. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike the other sites, ZipRecruiter, they don't depend on candidates finding you. They're proactive. They find them. 80% of the employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just 24 hours, Dan. How about that?
I love it.
24 hours. You don't got to juggle emails or calls or anything like that. You screen, you rate, you manage your candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Right now, find out what it's all about. All you got to do is go to ZipRecruiter.com/solid. You can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/solid. One more time, ZipRecruiter.com/solid. Try it for free.
Do it. It's so free. It's extremely free to try.
So free. Okay. Let's go through some other action here in the Big Ten, and let's start with El Asico.
El Asico.
Why was it named El Asico, Dan?
I think it's from Spencer and Ryan and Jason over at the Shutdown Fullcast, and it's their takeoff on El Clasico. Barcelona and Real Madrid?
Yep.
Their rivalry that they play all the time. And the games have not been great these past few years, generally speaking.
Exactly. This one went to overtime. 44-41. Iowa wins. Quietly one of the best games of the day. This was a fun game to watch.
It was super fun.
Not in the first half, though. 14-10 in the first half. Iowa led at halftime. It wasn't until the second half that things went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. 85 total points in El Asico. It's going to be like this all year with Iowa State. This is how it's going to, if you're an Iowa State fan, or if you choose to watch Iowa State football for whatever reason, this is what it's going to be like. They're going to score. They're not going to stop anybody.
That's fun. That's entertaining. David Montgomery is really good.
That's an
Jacob
improvement.
Park was impressive. Yeah.
That's an improvement for Iowa State football.
100%. I mean, what conference do they play in, Ty?
The Big 12.
They're a Big 12 team. Hell yeah, Iowa State is a Big 12 team, but Iowa, Nate Stanley looked really good.
Yeah.
Didn't turn the ball over. Akram Wadley was solid. I like this Iowa team because I think they're going to get stops. I don't think they're going to go back to the Orange Bowl.
Nope, probably.
But
probably not.
Iowa will, after watching this game and the Wyoming game, because Wyoming has a pretty good quarterback, Josh Allen, I am confident that by the end of the year, when people inevitably start making cases for like, oh, well, the Big Ten's better than the ACC, whatever, conference supremacy, Iowa will be a helpful notch in the depth belt for the Big Ten. How's that?
All right, fair enough. 44-41, a fun game to watch, a good win for Iowa. Elsewhere in the Big Ten, I'm going to move quick through these.
Please.
Okay? Michigan 36, Cincinnati 14. Michigan pulls away late. Didn't look great for most of the game. Fair to say?
Yeah, Wilton Spade is not a great QB.
No.
At least he's not showing anything anywhere near that right now. And I think he's still probably their best option, which is not an ideal scenario.
Wisconsin 31, Florida Atlantic 14. I got to play it. Jonathan Taylor, tailback.
Ooh.
You got me on the train now. 26 carries, 223 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Wow.
And he's their backup running back.
Jonathan Taylor, tailback. JTT, I love it.
JTT.
All right. Duke 41, Northwestern 17, Dan. Daniel Jones, 305 and 2 touchdowns through the air. 108 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Duke clearly getting the better of the Cats. Through 2 weeks, what is going on with Northwestern? Because I was feeling it before the start of the year. And now that we're 2 weeks in, I'm not feeling it so much anymore.
This is what Northwestern does. They don't really play Septembers, and then it seems like they're 4-7 and they turn into a 9-3 team somehow through magical Big Ten pixie dust. So
yeah.
They have Wisconsin on the road. They have Penn State, and then they have the juggernaut that is Maryland football, Ty.
Yeah.
I believe the Danalytics right now, with Maryland having played Texas and Towson, Maryland, I think, is scoring touchdowns at a higher rate, touchdowns per play. Again, Texas and Towson.
This is a fake stat. This is a fake stat.
Any team in America.
Good for me. I like Maryland. I'm excited about Maryland.
You're just excited about a guy named Ty.
They have a number of ties in this team, but one of them's hurt. Tyrell Pigram currently hurt. That meant that Kasim Hill, the true freshman, came in and got his first start. People are excited about Kasim Hill. Yeah, he takes over 63-17 over Towson. It's the most that Maryland has scored in a game since 1954. How about that for a Danalytic?
Wow, I love a good Danalytic. And the other Danalytic, that's not a Danalytic at all, but I saw this tweeted out somewhere. Ty Johnson averaged 24.8 yards per carry in this game.
Yo.
Ty Johnson is legitimately in the running for the best yards per carry number for any running back, who I think the number is 300 of all time. 300 carries. He is in the running. He averaged 9 last year. It's a home run hitter, Ty.
All right. That's why his name's Ty.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm all aboard.
Minnesota 48, Oregon State 14. Minnesota threw the ball 8 times in this game.
Yeah.
8
Good
times. 8 times. Held the ball 38 minutes, gained 411 yards. They've got Maryland at the end of the month, which is way more interesting now than it was at the start of the year. But
you're a big Connor Rhoda guy, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Clearly. I digress.
Oregon State out in the open trash.
Yeah, that's right.
Full on out in the open trash.
Michigan State 28, Western Michigan 14, Indiana 34, Virginia 17, Purdue 44, Ohio 21.
Do you see the double flea flicker?
I did. Great play.
Ooh.
Gives me the vapors.
That's all I got to say about it.
Illinois 20, Western Kentucky 7. And finally, a classic letdown spot here for Rutgers. A heartbreaker last week against Washington. It just got away from them. Eastern Michigan 16, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights 13.
Yeah, barn burner.
Let's move to the Pac-12 here. Let's talk about a little game between Utah and BYU, Dan.
Holy war!
Only one member of this dynamic broadcasting duo, Dan, had the foresight, the vision, the intuition, quite frankly, the balls to predict that Utah would score exactly 19 points.
I was off by 4 points on the Oregon final score, but that's unbelievable.
Final score here, 19-13. Utah knocks off BYU. I think I predicted 19-17, so I was off 4 points as well, but I got the 19 right.
I like how kind both of these teams were to not be too showy and score 20 points.
Kind of a surprise in the start of the season when they gave the job to Tyler Huntley out there at Utah. He's a sophomore. Everyone expected Troy Williams, but now through 2 games, Tyler Huntley, it's looked like it's the right move. 300 through the air, 89 and a touchdown on the ground. Your boy Darren Carrington getting in on the action. Another big night out wide for Utah. Shaping up, again, we said at the start of the year, shaping up to be another one of those Utah seasons where they go 9-3 and everyone's confused.
I don't think at this point people are going to be confused. I think there is a certain healthy amount of acceptance of Utah being always pretty good. My concern is much more, you know how many points BYU is averaging per game? 11. 11 points per game. And if you take away the game against the FCS school that they played, Portland State, early on, who they struggled to move the ball against for a good chunk of that game, they're averaging 6.5 points a game against Power 5 teams.
They played LSU last week and got shut out. They lost this week to BYU. They host Wisconsin next week. They also have Boise and Mississippi State on the schedule before the end of October.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get that much easier from now until around middle October. So the second half of the schedule is a lot better off. But man, not a good start here for the Cougs.
It's cure for the common defense. Play BYU.
The other game of real significance, I thought, in the Pac-12, Washington State 47, Boise State 44. This is the wild one you talked about at the start. 3 overtimes. The over-under for this game was 58 points. And the score was 17-10 at the end of the third quarter. And things just escalated quickly.
What's the name of the Christmas song, Ty, where it's like 6 geese a-laying? What's the name of that song?
12 Days of Christmas?
12 Days of Christmas?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just verifying. We've got 2 backup quarterbacks. We've got 3 overtimes. We've got what felt like 73 special teams miscues.
Yeah.
This game had it all, Ty. Tyler Helinski.
Yeah.
Sort of disappointing when he came in earlier on in the game when Luke Falk was very disappointing and was benched for a series. Came in, rallied the troops. They were down 31-10. And this was a game of really good defense, just boneheaded plays on offense and special teams, and somehow weathering the storm for Washington State, who was favored by a good chunk of points to pull this out at home. This game probably ended at 5 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
But holy hell, good entertainment for the whole family, Ty.
All right. Elsewhere, Washington, UCLA, Colorado, Cal all win in the Pac-12. Both Arizona schools lose. Houston wins 19-16 over Arizona in Kyle Allen's first start for Houston, and San Diego State knocks off Arizona State by a 30-20 score.
Yeah, I don't think Cal struggled a little bit with Weber State. Josh Rosen's completely on fire, and Hawaii's they're okay. They're pretty decent right now. It's a good win to drop 56 against Hawaii. Josh Rosen is absurd when he's on. All
right, to the ACC, we already talked about Clemson, Pitt, and Duke. The big story is that 2 games were canceled because of the hurricanes. So Florida State, Louisiana Monroe, that game was canceled. Also Miami, Arkansas State canceled. Some of the other games, though, the one of real note, which was a fun game to watch, Louisville 47, UNC 35. Lamar Jackson, Dan, 525 in total yardage, 6 total touchdowns. Louisville as a team only had 705 total yards.
Only.
I will reiterate what you said last week because it's never been more true. Louisville's got some holes to plug. They got some holes to plug, Dan.
And who better than Bobby Petrino? You teed me up, Ty. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Lamar Jackson, not one of the holes to plug. Louisville will only go as far as Lamar Jackson takes them this year.
Yeah, he is. Remember Wally Zerbiak, Ty?
Of course.
Played for Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
I just remember when they were in the NCAA tournament and people saying, this guy is incredible. This guy, he puts the team on his back because his team is bad and he has to do everything. And he will score 43 points a game and it might be good enough. It might not be, but he's always going to do it. That's what it sort of reminds me of at this point with Louisville. There's pieces, but I'm not counting on much. I like Jalen Smith a whole lot, but outside of that, defensively, where is this team?
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong. So,
all right.
We'll see what happens. They're fun, though. Lamar Jackson is just pure excellence.
Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech both win by 27. Syracuse loses to Middle Tennessee State 30-23. NC State knocks off Marshall by 17. And Wake beats Boston College by 24. I said this to Mama H.
Say it.
Before I went on the show today. If Notre Dame loses at Boston College next week, I'm done with them forever.
What does that mean? What does that entail?
That means I'm done. I'm throwing out all my Notre Dame stuff.
What?
I'm converting full-time to Penn State.
Oh, Ty.
I'm done. If they lose on the road next week, I'm done.
All right. We'll hold you to that.
DUN.
What if they lose to Wake?
That would be bad too. But right now,
John Wolford, huh?
Current state of mind, if they lose on the road at BC next week, I'm done.
Okay.
Dunzo. I don't have the sound here.
Dunzo.
There you go. I have the sound.
Okay.
Big 12. TCU 28. Arkansas 7, Dan. This is the kind of performance it takes to get me back together with TCU.
I mean, it's a good defensive performance. They ran all right offensively with Darius Anderson.
Just focus on the defense, okay?
Okay.
Play better defense. Their defense has not been up to Gary Patterson standards in a couple years now.
That's true.
Play good defense. Don't do anything too stupid on offense. I'm happy with that. That's all I need. And that's what they did in this game. This game was a really good start, a good defensive effort. Austin Allen just 9 of 23 passing. Arkansas as a whole, 4 of 14 on third downs. Actually a close game until the fourth quarter, but TCU was able to pull away here 28-7. Was your final score? A nice win for them on the road.
Very nice win on the road. I enjoyed the fact that within a 3-minute span, you said, I'm out on Notre Dame. And then you said, and you know what, Dan? I'm back in on Kenny Hill and the TCU experience.
I never said those words.
You said TCU.
I never said the Kenny Hill experience. No. They are not synonymous, okay?
What?
They are not synonymous.
He wears purple.
He does
There's
wear
an
purple.
amphibian on his helmet, Ty.
I would have harkened back to the days of Trevon Boykin and Josh Doxson.
Well,
those were the halcyon days of TCU football. This Kenny Hill experience, I could deal without that. That's why I'm focusing on defense.
Okay. But when you get back together, Ty, you gotta deal with the friends and the in-laws.
I know. I'm trying to put it off as long as I can.
Okay. What else you got?
Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas, West Virginia all win in the Big 12. Kansas, did you see that Kansas lost by a 45-27 score against Central Michigan?
I did see that.
You know who's quarterbacking for Central Michigan these days?
Who's that? Is that Shane?
That'd be
Shane Morris?
Shaggy Shane Morris. The Michigan transfer.
Oh, he had a big day.
467 and 5 touchdowns.
All right. Just change of scenery.
Shaggy Shane.
All right.
And then there was another team in Texas who played and lost, but we're not going to talk about them.
Is Peyton Bender, the Kansas quarterback, is he a Wazoo transfer?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay.
They went all out in the transfers this year.
They did.
All right. Let's close it out with the SEC here. Got a couple games to talk about. We've got a bunch of other dudes that I'm sure we want to call out.
I got
here.
a dude list here. Yeah.
And I don't want to wear out the sound, but This is a consecutive dude alert. Deebo Samuel.
Oh my goodness.
Deebo Samuel for South Carolina. South Carolina, secretly decent.
Okay.
Secretly.
It's early.
You get credit for it. Secretly decent.
Yeah.
31-13 over Mizzou. Debo returns a kickoff for a touchdown, just like he did last week, which really stole some early momentum away from Missouri. And then they got really good defensive play. They got after Drew Lock, played good coverage. Hayden Hurst, another dude alert. I played the sound too soon, but Hayden Hurst, another one. Their big tight end who got a touchdown on a jet sweep from 2 yards. He's 6'5", 250, and they're giving him the ball in the jet sweep. But a nice win here for South Carolina, 31-13.
Very much so. I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like all season long, but it's a long year.
Speaking of long years, let's talk about Texas A&M.
Please.
24-14 over Nichols. Kevin Sumlin has had to endure some really awful behavior from Texas A&M fans. And I realize that football is a big deal and all, but that sort of thing's unacceptable. I feel horrible for him and his family. It has not gone according to the plan so far here in the early going. The quarterback situation, not even close to settled. Fair to say it.
No, I would say that's correct.
Nick Starkel busted his ankle. Kellen Mond got the start. He gets yanked in the third quarter now for Jake Hubenak. A&M wins the game, but it's an FCS team. By no means is this any kind of sigh of relief after what happened last week against UCLA. So we'll see which direction things go from here, but it seems right now that A&M's got a bunch of holes and quarterback is a pretty big gaping hole.
I'm not even going to respond to that.
Alabama wins by 31 over Fresno.
Tua time. Boom. Boom. Sorry. I'll never do a Home Improvement a cappella intro ever again.
LSU wins by 35. Tennessee by 35. Kentucky wins by 11 over Eastern Kentucky. Ole Miss 45. UT Martin 23. Vandy 42-0 over Alabama A&M. And in the Fumblerooski Bowl, Mississippi State 57. Louisiana Tech 21.
This is true.
And that's all I got. Anything else?
New Hampshire beat Georgia Southern, FCS over FBS.
Oh, right.
I'll take it, Ty. The Wildcats.
Yeah.
No, Nichols was a fun thing because it was tied. What, fourth quarter against Texas A&M?
Tied late. Yeah, really.
They sort of became America's team.
Yeah.
De facto America's team. I didn't really watch that game, so I can't really speak exactly to that. I have a bunch of doodle alerts. I don't know if you want to get into it at the end of the show. Kendall Adams was just incredible for Kansas State, albeit against Charlotte. I don't have much outside of the doodle alerts, Ty, if you want to play the fastest growing blip sound on our...
The third is the charm here on the show. I heard
it's an earwig, Ty.
Rich Gannon used doodle alert today during
Is that true?
An NFL broadcast. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all right. Who we got?
My quick list: Nate Stanley, Thomas Graham, AJ Brown. You just mentioned the Ole Miss game. AJ Brown's averaging about 200 yards receiving per game. They've played University of Tennessee Martin and South Alabama, but that's still a thing. I'm excited to watch him against other teams. Austin Bryant, who you mentioned, Stephen Carr, we mentioned, Uchenna Nwosu, the USC player up front, who's just ridiculous. Josh Rosen, David Montgomery from Iowa State had a very nice day for himself. Roquan Smith, Dante Pettis. I don't know if you saw that punt return for Washington against Montana. Real fun to watch. Ty Isaac, the one real bright spot of Michigan's offense right now, starting at running back and picking up some difficult yardage.
Big year for ties, isn't it?
It's a huge tie year. You have to come out with can you do a weekly tie power ranking?
I can.
On the show?
Do that. Yeah.
I would love to hear that.
Can do it here. Can do it on the Twitter feed. Yeah.
Are you the most famous tie covering college football?
Probably.
Is there a Tyler? Is there a Tyson?
There aren't any Tysons. There's probably a Tyler.
I mean, there's Ty Detmer. What's he up to?
He's probably still growing that neck beard. I don't think he's doing any kind of coverage at this point.
Right.
I'd really
looks like he works in personal or private equity, something like in finance. Yeah.
So he's doing better than me in that respect. But
here's the final line of Ty Detmer's Wikipedia personal life section. Detmer was a large investor in and was employed by the Athlete Services Division at Triton Financial Corporation from 2007 to 2009 before the firm collapsed and its founder was indicted for fraud.
Okay.
Detmer was not implicated in the scandal and claims to have lost more money than anyone else.
So he's going Lenny Dykstra with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hope everything's all right with the Detmer situation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have to do a little studying up on this one to see where I rank in the Tide Power rankings, college football media and otherwise. If I'm doing the rankings, I can't rank myself. That would be wrong.
No, I'm saying you're just ranking college football players named Ty.
Oh, yeah. Now, it can be Ty, Tyler, also Tyrell. Does that count?
I'll count it. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Anything that begins with TY with the specific Ty sound.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited then. This is good.
All right.
That's all I got for week 2, Dan.
That's all I have. That is everything I have.
So listen, we got a bunch of really awesome iTunes reviews over the last month or so. We appreciate everyone doing that. If you haven't already, all that stuff really does truly help us out.
It does.
So that's an easy way for you to contribute. We are working on getting the shirts out to people who ordered the shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always get in touch with us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We're also out there on the subreddit from time to time. If we're not, there are multiple hundreds of other folks who are out there chatting about the verbal, keeping track of the fantasy things, all that good stuff. It's a ton of fun to pop in if you like the show and see what other verballers are up to, where they're headed, what their ideas are. I've really enjoyed it so far this season. Been a ton of fun, incredibly humbling to see it out there. And I'd encourage everyone who listens to the show to go and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Week 3, not the slate of week 2, to say the absolute very least, but we're going to have fun with it on Wednesday when we reconvene, do another preview show. In the meantime, big thanks to our sponsor this evening. You know them as ZipRecruiter. Check them out for free at ZipRecruiter.com/solid. For that guy over there, my good friend, my tired friend.
Oh, yeah. I'm struggling. Low energy friend.
Tired, low energy, and hungry friend, Dan Rubenstein.
Yes.
Go get some food. Go get some sleep. In the meantime, for everyone out there, we'll catch you in a few days. Stay solid.
Peace.